being here. As you all know, the board met over the last 2 days. I would characterize the meetings as productive and constructive. We had yesterday the TNT studio show panel came to talk about how they're promoting the game and their view of how the game's being played. That was Anson Carter, Leon McHugh, Paul Bissonnette, and the great one, Wayne Gretzky. And I think you all interviewed him yesterday, so you have his views. We also had a presentation by Tony Straffiari and Colette Watson from Rogers. We begin an exclusive negotiating period with them on January 1st with respect to our Canadian media rights, and I thought it'd be a good opportunity before we began those formal discussions that they have an opportunity to talk to the board and talk about their view of the world and our relationship, and I think that was very well received. Shane Jacobson from the V Foundation talked about our first year of collaborating between the V Foundation and Hockey Fights Cancer, and we've actually together done some really good work to raise consciousness and raise money for research. And finally, in terms of guest appearances, Michael Rubin from Fanatics, who does our licensing and does a lot of in-venue merchandising for a number of our clubs and does our events, talked to the board about the seamless transition we had with the uniforms from Adidas to Fanatics, manufactured by the same people in Quebec, but a very good job was done on that, and looking forward in terms of how we're growing the licensing business. We had a discussion, Bill and Joseph D'Souza talked about league economics and how we're preparing for our upcoming collective bargaining discussions with the Players Association, which will begin in February. We talked about events, international growth, 4 nations and competitions going forward, and a few general updates, fan data that we collect, and the state of the perception of the game. And we find ourselves in a very strong, good place, coming off of what may have been the best season we ever had last year. So I think it was all good.
Can you give us a sense about the revenue and where you see the salary cap going?
Revenue continues to grow. We're projecting in native currency over $7 billion, probably 6.6 US, depending again on the Canadian dollar as we convert to hockey-related revenues, which is done in U.S. currency. The cap under the current guidelines in the collective bargaining agreement would go up 5%. As we look at revenues, we're going to have discussions with the Players Association about escrow levels and whether or not the cap can or should be tweaked a little more on an ongoing basis. But that's something that we have to really work out with the Players Association, and we're having those discussions.
Could that be tied into a new CBA?
Could not. You know, I wouldn't necessarily view the CBA as the only point in time where you can make adjustments. We might decide to make an adjustment and then deal with the CBA. We may decide to make it all part of the package. I mean, it's a little more free-flowing. It's not as structured as perhaps a question would suggest.
Is there a scenario by which what was your update CBA-wise to the board in terms of the upcoming talks with the BA and your hope to get something done?
We're getting prepared.
Is there a scenario by which you guys just extend the current model that's in place or make just a couple tweaks to it?
No, I don't want to prognosticate on collective bargaining. We have a very open, constructive relationship with the Players Association right now. I find working with Marty Walsh and Ron Hainsey, as does Bill, very constructive, very professional, very cordial, and so we're not going to get ahead of ourselves and prognosticate as to what's going to happen, although we hope to do this as quickly and as seamlessly as possible.
At a meeting like this, do you seek input from the governors of things they'd want to see, or is it more updating?
It's really more updating. We do the updates. If they have questions, we answer them. We had a meeting of the executive committee and the collective bargaining committee yesterday, joint meeting, where we went into a little more detail on collective bargaining to make sure we're focused on what they want us focused on, and I believe we are. And then we gave a higher level update to the board, but anybody's free to ask a question, and we're happy to answer it.
Have you firmed up with the PA when exactly you want to sit down?
It'll be sometime in February, but we meet with them on an ongoing basis. We had a meeting last week. We're going to probably have a meeting in the next week or so. So, you know, this is more free-flowing than I think you may all be focused on it. This is, you know, collective bargaining sounds formal and technical and legal, but it's the most important aspects of any collective bargaining agreement is the relationship. And I think the relationship's in a good place.
You said October 1st after the last board meeting to us that in an ideal world, maybe you'd have a CBA extension done by the Stanley Cup final. Is that still your hope?
I like ideal worlds, but I wouldn't make too much. I think, you know, process is an important thing. I respect the fact that Marty and the union has to make sure that the roughly 800 members of his union are feeling informed. And so we'll both go. It's a little bit easier for me because my ability to communicate with the board is a little more centralized. But, you know, I think we're in a good place.
Gary, I know it's a big word, tampering, but do you have any concerns with the way GMs will be conducting business or clubs?
I don't like tampering, and obviously if somebody alleges tampering and it can be proven, there are consequences to that. But I'm not weighing in any particular cases right now. Tampering's not a good thing. You know, when you have rules, you like the rules to be followed.
Is the league investigating any current?
Not at the present time.
There was some quote-unquote accusation of soft tampering yesterday.
I've been in board meetings for the last 2 days. I've heard the general. I don't have enough specifics to make any sort of comment. William, anything you want to add? Okay.
Regarding tampering, though, on July 1st, do you expect a different day, July 1st? Because we were announcing signings at...
I don't know. We'll have to say, and that's something we'll discuss with the union.
Just to be clear, you expect CBA talks to officially begin in February?
Well, yeah, that's what we've said. Could slide, could move up, you know. Again, it's not as rigid as you're suggesting, okay?
What has created the health in the relationship that you've characterized as peaceful and good?
We're off. I think Marty Walsh's focus on how this relationship should work is probably a little different than we've experienced.
Expansion wasn't on the agenda this week, Gary?
No.
But were there questions from the board about where that stands?
No.
Where does it stand?
Doesn't. Nothing going on at the present time, other than there continue to be expressions of interest. That's it.
Where are you at with the Olympics? Is the deal finalized? Or?
Bill, where are we at the Olympics?
We're getting close.
Come on in. You're getting close.
We exchanged some more documents with the IOC and the IHF on Friday, so I remain confident that we'll get there soon.
Have you had any update on the arena situation? I know that's been discussed.
Yeah, the latest update we got was a good one.
Yeah.
They still are on track for a October completion, and they want to have a test event in December. So I know Rob Zepp actually had occasion to be there within the last 2 weeks. He said impressive progress.
Any discussion of the concept of the salary cap carrying into the playoffs, or the LTIR issue, I guess?
You're getting ahead again on things that we might discuss with the union, and we're not going to have those discussions now.
Was it brought up at all, though, to the board?
And we're not going to discuss how we're preparing for collective bargaining.
What about the schedule?
Yes, we have one. And if we're going to make adjustments, that would be something we'd have to discuss with the Players Association. I don't really think it's productive to have the discussions in advance of the discussions we would want to have, if we want to have them, on any particular topic.
What about, sorry, Bill?
Well, especially because we really haven't had any discussions with the union on it. So
Right.
let us engage with the union before we start talking about potential issues.
Are you in favor, generally speaking, of starting earlier, awarding the cup earlier in a new schedule format?
There's a certain amount of competition that has to be played, and you need a certain number of days to do it. If we started in August, which I'm not recommending, we could maybe finish in May. But you know, you can only squeeze it so much, and we respect the compression of the schedule, particularly when you take breaks for Four Nations, or the World Cup, or the Olympics. So you know, you just can't say, okay, it would be great to finish in May. Well, you can't just do that unless there's a consequence on the other side.
Is there anything further on the World Cup? I mean, obviously, the Four Nations Olympics. Was there anything to these meetings on World Cup?
Just an update as to what our discussions with the IIHF have been with the member national associations, some of the leagues. You know, we had intensive discussions with them during the World Championships last year. We've updated those discussions over time. We had a meeting with the IIHF in November in Toronto, and expect to hear more back from them sometime, hopefully before the end of the calendar year.
The Olympic agreement, when it's done, as you said, it's pretty close. It is only for Milan, or would that incorporate France?
No, it's focused on Milan.
But our intention is that this is going to be the international schedule going forward.
I know you said that you're not recommending starting in August, but is that something that?
No.
Well,
Don't even, I was giving you an absurd example, okay? And it would be absurd for anybody to suggest there was anything to
There are
that.
some people who want the cup awarded by May 31st.
Yeah, I understand, but then you have to start much earlier. And there are a lot of people who think starting earlier doesn't make a lot of sense with the state of the football season, the baseball season, and so, you know, it is what it is. Great, thank you.